This could be a really impactful winter storm this weekend into next week as we watch an area of low pressure move from the Rockies east. We're going to talk about that in the video today. We're also looking at the ensemble guidance starting to grow, at least the chance of seeing snow. This is the odds of seeing more than 6 inches of snow. You can see this whitish color, more like this tan. That's greater than 50%. These numbers continue to grow as confidence is increasing on the models. This is a look at the European ensembles, also showing that bullseye for that heavy snow, really not really a bullseye, more like a stripe across the country as we head into the weekend, into early next week. The energy that we're watching that would potentially bring your snow is still across the ocean. It's not going to move ashore, at least a good chunk of it, until at least Friday or Saturday. At that point, the weather balloons will take some of this data, plug it into this model that you're seeing here, and it'll be a much better solution. So I'm looking forward to narrowing that down as we get closer. Before we get too deep into this, guys, thank you so much for coming over and watching these videos. It was 1 year ago that I started this channel here doing these forecasts. I'd been in meteorology and television for years. I got out of that business just to be with my family and do some other things with my life. But one thing that I always found myself, even once I left the industry, was looking at these models. So I started making videos about these models and what I'm seeing, and that's what we're doing here. So if you like this content, if you're just coming over, you're getting these videos recommended to you or they're showing up in your feed, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. And again, Happy New Year. All right, here's where we are. We're going to look at the 3 deterministic global models and take it out through the week. You've got the snow in the northeast, lake effect snow going here too. A weak system will bring some light snow here to the Ohio Valley, also into parts of the Appalachians. And then there comes your system across the west that's going to bring the heavy snow to parts of the Pacific Northwest first, eventually the northern Rockies. You're going to get some heavy snow out of this too, from Montana back into Wyoming, Idaho, even Utah. And then low pressure develops on the east side of the mountains. This will first start to bring some sleet, some freezing rain here to parts of Kansas, Missouri. And by the way, we're going to dig into all of these regions in just a moment. We're going to take it almost frame by frame, but I want to give you the broad overall picture of the global models and what they're showing today. Low pressure moving through the Tennessee Valley, Mississippi Valley as we head into Sunday, now into Monday, and that puts a stripe of heavy snow north of that, from Kansas to Missouri over to central Illinois, central Indiana. Now the southern parts of these states, southern Missouri, southern Indiana, Illinois, I think we're going to see more freezing rain and sleet. That's not a good situation. Same thing could be said for the bluegrass state over into parts of Virginia too, southern West Virginia, some sleet, freezing rain, and I think you got to watch right here into the Piedmont of the Carolinas. Now, the European from today is much less aggressive at keeping that ice here into the Carolinas, but I still think you need to keep an eye on this area, and that puts heavy snow into northern Virginia, into the Delmarva. It doesn't bring it up the coast because you've got a huge low up here. This storm is going to rotate around it. It's not really going to come down from the north. It's really just going to push any energy straight around it. All right, that's the European. This is the GFS. Yesterday, there was still a little bit of disagreement as to how strong it would be and the placement. But today, we're seeing a little more consensus. You're getting your low here, moving right across Arkansas, then up through Tennessee, and then into Kentucky. Keeps the snow into the same areas pretty much as the European. It's a little colder, though, here into the Carolinas. There's still some differences. Again, all of this will be ironed out. And as I said, that energy we're tracking is still offshore. Much more data to come. This is the Canadian model because I do like to compare all of them and look how they all have the idea of your low developing somewhere close to Oklahoma, maybe even Kansas, and then it moves east. The Canadian, a little bit colder too here across the Carolinas with that ice and then your snow in the same areas. I mean, this is pretty much on all the models. The difference would be maybe the Canadian's a little bit warmer here, so it gives you more ice up towards Cincinnati. I'm not going to fight over a 50-mile difference between your snow, sleet, freezing rain line for a storm that is still looking at, now what we're looking at Monday. More details will come, and I really want to see what the NAM does with it, and especially when you get closer to the event, you're going to see more feedback from the HRRR and some of those shorter range models when you start to fine-tune the ice details and the heavy snow bands. But look, the Canadian, same solution. It moves it offshore. We're going to continue toward the end of the video what happens after that. But I want to dig into all the details a little bit closer. Let's start with the plain states here first because that's where the storm's going to be felt. Really, it's going to be felt across the Rockies and the Pacific Northwest with some heavy snow there too. As we head into Saturday, low pressure develops across western Texas, Oklahoma. Now you've got ice here across a good part of Kansas, up towards Kansas City, and then snow north of that into Nebraska. The question is, can this thing get going strong enough to get heavier snow into Nebraska? I don't know that it does. West Kansas, parts of Colorado, I think it does. It takes a little while to deepen, and because of that, your heavy snow is probably going to be here into central and northeast Kansas, We could get some heavier snow up towards Lincoln. I think you're right on that line of going, I don't know, because it's just so close, but it's definitely looking more likely now for northern Missouri over into central Illinois, central Indiana, with that ice here just to the south of that. St. Louis, the latest couple of models have kept you pretty much all snow, but you're so close. And again, remember, any ice is just going to rip your snow totals off as you just lose that fluff and you go over to sleet, which compacts a lot more. And then low pressure moving right across Tennessee, right along that Tennessee-Kentucky line. North of that, there's your snow, sleet, freezing rain. South of it, I think the potential for severe weather this weekend, unfortunately, is on the table again. And then behind that, high pressure builds in. To the east, as we move through the next 24 hours, we've definitely got some snow going here downwind of the Great Lakes. There's that disturbance that's going to move through heading into really Thursday into Friday with some more snow. It's going to bring in a reinforcing shot of some colder air, and it's going to keep the lake effect snow going here. There comes our storm as we move into Saturday and Sunday. By Sunday evening, it's moving through Tennessee, putting the snow now into parts of southern Ohio, West Virginia, northern Virginia, with sleet, freezing rain, kind of a mixed bag here across southern West Virginia, eastern Kentucky, into parts of southern Virginia. I think you watch North Carolina, the upstate of South Carolina, because if this cold air damming is a little bit stronger, you could end up with more freezing rain and sleet here. And then as we move into Monday, we see more of a transition over to snow on the backside of it. But I really think you got to watch out on the northern side of wherever this precipitation band sets up. This could be some heavy snow, maybe even into Richmond, Charlottesville, north up to Baltimore, D.C., Philadelphia. You're up here. It's pretty much to your south, at least the heaviest snow. And yeah, the Northeast is going to get left out of this one just because of the setup. But this could be your snow for the Delmarva. Maybe just rain, though, across southeast Virginia, especially once you get down towards the peninsula, down towards Newport News, down towards Norfolk, eastern North Carolina. I think it's all rain. We may end as a little bit of snow as cold air works in. There's your snow totals through Friday. Again, some lake effect going here for sure. And let's push these totals out. There comes your snow as we head into Monday and Tuesday. Closer look at that in just a moment. Across the Northeast, we've got rain turning over to snow. Those snow showers will continue here through Friday. And some of that snow could get heavy, especially here into the mountains. These are the snow totals. This counts what's falling today through Friday. Upwards of 6 inches, maybe even close to a foot in some areas. Let's start with the snow totals. First, we'll go east to the west as we look at our snow map. Don't dig into these details specifically and hold on to them like your life depends on it, because I think this is going to shift. But the idea of seeing more than 6 inches in my mind is definitely starting to grow. This is the latest run of the European. This would be yesterday's run. Not a lot of difference. So now you got two back-to-back runs. This would be the overnight, and this would be the off-hour 6Z run. We're seeing that consistency starting to show up here on the European with more than 6 inches, in some cases, more than a foot of snow. And I think some compaction is going to happen. So when you look at this and you see 14.9 inches of snow here, I'm not sure if that's Harrisonburg or if that's Charlottesville, but when you see that, that's probably more like 11, 12 inches of snow. But still, that's a lot of snow. Up towards D.C., we're trying to get close to 8 to 12, I think, and then you get out towards the Delmarva, that's going to be pretty tough to squeeze out close to 14 inches of snow here. But the idea that the models are showing that is quite impressive with lesser amounts to the north side of this. And then it's easy to see how a 50-mile difference in where this storm goes makes a huge difference in how much snow you see. Potential growing here, again, across southern Indiana, southern Illinois for some ice. So I think that's why your totals are a little bit lower here. And I would argue that right here, watch these numbers. They may be quite a bit lower, especially into northern Kentucky, as we see that freezing rain and sleet eat into these snow totals. So we were seeing 15 inches. It may be more like 4 to 5 with sleet and ice on top of it. Either way, some heavy precipitation looking likely up towards Indianapolis, several inches at this point, and then over towards St. Louis. The last European model run has just crushed you with a foot of snow or so. Further to the west, more snow here. Back towards Kansas City, we see the snow showing up. And then mostly here across northern Missouri. I mean, that's where the snow is, southern Iowa, and then back into northeast Kansas and southwest, or southeast rather, Nebraska. This could certainly change. I'm not going to buy into this, but we're definitely seeing the trend. There's the 6Z run here across Kansas. There's the overnight run, a little bit of a different look. That's yesterday's 18Z run. That's yesterday's 12Z run. So you can see each run is a little bit different, and it's going to shift every model run. And if you hug onto any of these and say this is exactly how it's going to be, you will be sorely disappointed it will be a very sad week. So do not live that way. It's like watching the stock market go up and down. You can't watch every tick. All right, as we head through the weekend across the south, again, the potential here for some severe weather. That's my concern with some strong thunderstorms possible. You're going to have a negatively tilted trough. The dynamics would likely be there. So let's watch this time frame. And then as we head into Monday and Tuesday, that cold front moves through the south. Temperatures start to drop as high pressure builds in. I don't know what that was. A terrible line. Cold air building in as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. A bit of a break. And now let's go back to the west, because this is where our storm is also going to be felt too, in the form of snow. Heavy rain across the Pacific Northwest starting to build in. We've talked about that really on Friday and Saturday as far as forecasting goes. Now you're going to be able to sample this data and get a better solution for what happens further to the east. This sticks around through the weekend, this onshore flow here with more rain and snow into the Cascades, into the Intermountain West. That snow keeps going here and across the Four Corner States, Southern California. We're dry here. Let's really take the GFS and the operational runs out a little bit further in time, because this is where things get a little bit weird, right? So there's your storm going through the weekend. I'm going to go back to last night's run. This is the most recent one that goes out really far. I'm watching Texas, okay? Because you've got that upper energy that's spinning here, right? There it comes. You can kind of see it right here. What happens with this? Does this do something here? It's an upper low. I don't like the way this looks. The European cuts it off and really doesn't do anything with it. And then we just turn cold and you don't get an East Coast snowstorm. We've got to get through this first storm before we start jumping on the bandwagon with our next snowstorm, guys. So the GFS is much more bullish on the cold and the snow across the Southwest, and it's more progressive with your upper level trough too. It swings it to the east. If that happens, you're going to get snow in the south. I don't know that it does happen because, again, the European is trying to cut that upper low off and keep that energy back to the west. If this happens by next week, now you're putting snow into northern Alabama, Mississippi. That puts snow into Atlanta, South Carolina, also North Carolina. It doesn't push it up the East Coast because, look, you've still got this low here spinning. And, again, are all these things in place? I don't know that they are, but this looks like a really active weather pattern heading into January. More to come, guys. Thanks for watching. See you later.